If you have a high net worth and you are in or near retirement, this video is for you. In this video, we're going to talk about IRMAA, or better known as Medicare premiums. And we're going to talk about the impact of this based on how your income works in retirement. And so from a very simple place here, when we talk about Medicare premiums, it's based on your income. The more income you have, the more you have to pay to Medicare, which may not necessarily be fair, because someone down the street who has not worked hard and has not saved money for retirement may be paying the minimum for their Medicare premiums. Whereas someone who has worked extremely hard and has been that millionaire next door and has saved and been frugal, well, now their income may be higher in retirement because now they're going to have to take out money from all that money they saved in their 401ks and IRAs. And that could actually bump them up tiers to mean they have to pay more for Medicare. But guess what? They get the same amount of coverage. Both people get the same amount of coverage even though they're paying different amounts. So if you don't like that idea and you want to pay the least amount possible in Medicare, the good news is this video is for you, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to teach you how to keep your income lower so that you can keep your Medicare premiums lower. So how do we do that? Well, first we got to start by doing tax planning today to set ourselves up for the future. And so maybe that involves paying taxes on our 401ks and our IRAs now so we don't have to pay them in the future when that Medicare time comes. And so a lot of people do things like Roth conversions right now are very popular. Some people just take more withdrawals now. Something we see with our clients is maybe we delay taking Social Security. So instead of taking Social Security at 62, maybe we take it at 70. So now we get a higher Social Security benefit. So that's one great thing. But also now we can start to draw down some of those investment accounts and use those as income, get the benefit of higher Social Security later, get the income we need now. And then later on, our RMD, that required minimum distribution, which typically bumps up Medicare premiums, will no longer be as significant and allow us to stay under those tiers, or some different ideas there. And so when it comes to that Roth conversion idea, you may want to look at that now because, oftentimes we'll talk with our clients of, you're always going to see yourself pay more in Medicare premiums. So what if we did a Roth conversion now? Yes, we may have to pay a lot. Let's say you're 63 or older. Yes, you may have to pay a lot in Medicare premiums today, but would you rather pay it for 1 year or for the rest of your life is ultimately the decision you're making. If you do the Roth conversion, maybe we can pay it for 1 year and not have to worry about it moving forward. If you're always going to be in that higher tier, you're going to maybe have to deal with that problem ongoing. So would you rather have a one-time problem or an ongoing problem is ultimately that decision that you're looking at for something like that. Now, maybe you don't convert everything that you have. Typically what we do with our clients is we do small amounts over time to make sure that we can do it in the most efficient way for their situation. We've got many software and calculators to allow us to see what allows us to put ourselves in that best situation there. And I mentioned earlier about 63. Why is 63 a magic age when planning for Medicare premiums? Why planning for IRMAA? And that's because that's when your premiums are starting to be calculated. So when you turn 63, that your income that year will be what's used when determining your 65 Medicare premium tier. And so if you make $1 million when you're 63, well, when you turn 65, you're going to have to pay the bill for that based on your 63. It doesn't go off your 65 income. And then when you're 64, that will be paid in 66, and so on and so on. So it's always 2 years delayed. So for example, we had a guy, he sold his business and sold his business for a lot of money, and he did it at age 63. And at 65, he came into our office and said, why am I paying so much in Medicare premiums? Well, it's because of the sale of the building that we didn't know about because we didn't work with him at that time. And so it's those little things and that are big deals. Now, do understand that with these Medicare premiums, there's a one-time exception that you can file for that can be very beneficial. And so we've seen success with that with our clients. So just understand if you've had a one-off, maybe you had a higher income, there's a one-time exception where you could get that null and not have to pay that for that year. So it could save you a couple $1,000s there if you do that the right way. The other thing I want to talk about with Medicare premiums is understand that these are a cliff. So if you go $1 over a Medicare premium tier, then you have to still pay that premium. So I'll share another client example with you. We were working with a client, they just onboarded with us, and we were looking at their last year's tax return, and their advisor had them take out money from their investment that put them $1,000, $1,000 over that tier. And now they've got to pay an extra $1,000 to go above that tier just because they weren't smart enough to be able to plan and back it off that tier. And so what hurt me is, it didn't necessarily matter they were over the tier, that was fine, but they left all of that room until that next tier to do a thing like a Roth conversion we talked about earlier, do another tax planning strategy to use up that tier. Because if you do go over, let's maximize it. But if you don't want to go over it, then stay under it and go up to that. So just understand how that cliff works, and you want to maximize that cliff if that's your situation. Another thought for you is if you want to see more money in your Social Security, then this type of planning is even more so important. We get people who have maxed out their Social Security. They've done an awesome job of working and making a great income all their years, and they get to see a lot of that lost to Medicare premiums because of poor planning in the years before. And so understand that Medicare, to pay for Medicare, that comes out of your Social Security. And so if you're finding yourself in a higher tier, you're not going to get as much Social Security. And your Social Security is probably going to be taxable as well, nearly fully taxable. 85% of that will be taxable, which means that you're going to have a lot of money go to the government that you could probably plan for and not necessarily have be the case. And so that's something we always want to look at. And as we do our planning now with these Medicare premium tiers, we have to think of a Medicare premium tier as an added tax. It's not called a tax, but we need to think of that as a planning tool when we look at our situation now and when we look at it in the future, is what is going to be the benefit of making decisions now if we can avoid that Medicare premium tier, or let's say that maybe we have to increase the Medicare premium tiers like I talked about earlier. How much added more tax is that going to be, and having to pay those extra premiums, is that going to pay off over time if we make that decision? So those are the things that you need to be looking at when you're making these decisions. The last thing I want to discuss with this IRMAA and Medicare premium conversation is that RMD that I mentioned earlier, required minimum distributions. When you turn 73, the government forces you to take out money from your IRAs, your 401ks, your tax-deferred investments you've been saving all these years. And remember, if you were born in 1960 or after, that is not until 75, so you even have more time to plan for this. But once that happens, if you have a significant amount saved up, what happens to your income when you have to be forced to take money out and you're already taking Social Security? Well, your income is going to skyrocket and it's going to force you into those tiers. And so we see clients who have done a great job of saving where if they don't do anything now, it's just basically accumulating this retirement tax time bomb, we call it, where it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And then as your investment keeps growing, also when you do turn 73 and ongoing, the amount you have to withdraw, the amount the government forces you to take out increases as well, which means your income is only going to continue to go up and up and up over time. And if you follow the trends of Medicare, Medicare costs have gone up nearly 7% per year over time. And so what if that continues? What if it's worse knowing that 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65 every day and knowing that they're going to do that for the next 10 years? There's an influx into the system. What is going to happen to cost knowing that so many people need it? And so I'm not sure exactly what is going to happen to Medicare, but most people would suggest healthcare costs have to increase, which I would assume is probably going to affect your Medicare, especially knowing that Medicare is already underfunded and in trouble, right? And so with all those these things in place, who is going to be impacted by that? Well, based on the current trends, it's probably going to be the higher income. It's probably going to be the ones who have saved significant money over time. And so that's something we really need to be planned for, is finding ways to reduce those RMDs so that we can have more control and have Uncle Sam have less control. I don't like the idea of saying, Uncle Sam, you can force me to take out whatever you want at whatever tax rate you want. You can cause it to cause all this harm to Social Security and Medicare and capital gains. I'd rather have more control now by doing smart planning to get us there. So hopefully this is enough encouragement for you to do some tax planning to make sure that you can keep that Medicare premium, that extra money you would spend there, in your pocket and not in Uncle Sam's. So hopefully this can help you here. Hope you enjoyed the video today. As an avid viewer of this YouTube channel, we would like to offer you a free copy of our new book that just came out called I Hate Taxes. So if you would like a free copy of this, then go ahead in the description below. You'll be able to click on a link to get that free copy of this new book, I Hate Taxes.